So hello everybody, thank you for joining our webinar today. For those of you that just joined, this is being recorded. If anyone has an issue with that, please let me know, and we will add this to our website channel and share the recording, our webinar page channel on our website, and share the recording afterwards. I'll be taking the webinar today with Sanjeev, who is our technical director. And the way that we run our webinars here for all of our products is we like to keep them to make them very interactive. You are all experts in what you do, and what we found is by giving you the ability to ask questions, you get the answers that you either correctly or incorrectly that you want to hear. So the way that we'll structure it today is I'm going to run through a presentation. We're going to tell you about our company. We're going to show you some pathology tests that your colleagues across primary care are using MyBotGP to manage for them. We will pause for some questions. If you can please put any questions into the chat, Sanj will control that. We will answer as many questions as we can, and then we can get back. We can continue with the presentation. We can see demos if there's time to see demos, and if you want to see demos, and then hopefully we'll finish off with the last 5 or 10 minutes for some more questions. So Farrell is also on this call, hiding in the background somewhere. He's one of our senior sales consultants, and will be able to support you with any questions that you may have after the webinar. So let me begin. I am going to share my screen, so I'm going to do this slowly. Okay, so Sanj, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so MyBotGP, and we have a MyBotGP range. The webinar today is to tell you about our automated normal pathology filing platform. This normal pathology filing platform works with both EMIS and SystmOne. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're using SystmOne or EMIS, our platform will look after your normal pathology tests, and obviously not all normals are normal, which we will cover off in the webinar. It will manage them for you. It also has the ability to send SMSs through SystmOne or through Accurix if you want to continue to send them. So not all normals are normal is how we describe our product, because at first glance, if you see a normal pathology filing tool, you think it's just going to file anything that comes in as normal from the lab. Well, quite the contrary. Our platform enables you to run multiple checks driven by the practice to determine whether you believe that that particular pathology test is normal or needs further investigation. And it has self-configurable rules that involve things like checking against the previous test result for percentage increases or decreases, looking for keywords or health conditions in the patient record, looking for keywords on the pathology reports. You can change ranges, age and gender. So you can pick out normals, which invariably, or pick out abnormals that come through as normals from the lab, is what I'm trying to say. We are not a new business. We've been around for quite some time in primary care and in the NHS, and in advance of that, the acute space. We have a very strong track record of working in primary care. We're working with hundreds of practices nationally, and we are starting to work with an average of 30 to 40 new practices every month. We were part of a Health Innovation Network Launchpad program, which is a government-funded program several years ago for innovation in tech. And I'm pleased to share that we are also an official partner of HBLICT, as you can see on this part of the presentation here, who are an NHS ICT. They look after GP practices, and all of that kit, as we're a partner of theirs, what that means is all of the MyBotGP range lives in an ICB hosting center. So all of our kit actually lives within the NHS in an ICB hosting center, all of our cloud services. So from that if you think about what that means in relation to you, it means that we have fully compliant, NHS compliant, DCB, DPIAs, data sharing agreements, and all of that, which is super important. So what it means is you can use our tooling. We can literally start working with a new client, open up some cloud capability, plug you in, and off you go. And we have obviously all the paperwork to share with you, so your data protection officers will be happy. So before we start, this is just a slide that we like to share, and I think you will have all had this this deck already, for those of you that have had the time to look at it or not. And this accounts for all of our products. We have a normal pathology filing product, obviously, as you know, for this webinar for EMIS and SystmOne. We have a repeat prescription automation for EMIS and SystmOne, and we'll be having some webinars for that next month. And we also have a document automation, whereby our tooling will automate document for you, so you don't have to manage it. And hopefully a bit later on in the year, we'll be releasing SystmOne attaching documents automation, which is a similar workflow. The reason we built them is because of perception of time, essentially. This picture shows four people making a coffee. My throat is starting to go already. Apologies. People aren't good at reconciling in understanding how long things take. And what this picture is showing, it's not saying you're all standing around making coffee. It's saying that making a couple of cups of tea or coffee every day for about 10 to 15 minutes actually equates to 91 hours a year. If you work a 10-hour working day or a 9-hour working day, you're looking at 9 or 10 full days, 40 days rather, across a year, just based on losing 15 minutes every day. So doing something for 10, 15 minutes in the evening or in the morning, or 5 minutes or 20 minutes or 25 minutes every single day is not a small amount of time. Time adds up, and you're already working in an area where you have too much work and not enough time. So the principle behind our tooling is to save you time and money. So 2 to 3 coffees a day takes about 15 minutes. And it's not saying you're making coffee, it's just to try and put that in perspective. That can be at home before you go to work, it can be on the weekend, it can be anywhere. That's 91 hours a year. So, business case. Average list, 8,500 practices receives about an average list of about 8,500 patients receives about 200 pathology tests every day. That's a staggering just under 62,500 pathology tests, of which about 30% are abnormal. So what that means is 70% of those, just under 44,000, based on an average list of 8,500 patients, are normal, no action. If you can add additional logic to filter against them, or need to pick out the ones that need to be looked at. So how much time and cost does that save? So based on that equation, on an average of 4 partners working 4 days a week, which is 208 days a year, it equates to 1.5 days of clinical time a week, picking out the normals, reviewing normals that in principle don't need to be looked at. So that means each partner in the practice can reduce their clinical time allocation by 19 days a year. So just by saving that time, a practice with an average of 4 partners, 8,500 list, could save up to 78 days a year of clinical time. That's 16 weeks. So if you revert back, and that sounds like a lot, but if you revert back to that slide and really think about it, 10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, every day, time adds up. And MyBotGP will get you that time back. And our tooling, which is again normal pathology management, document, repeat prescriptions, is all based around freeing time. So our mission is to reduce practice costs and help you work smarter by using the most advanced automation tools for primary care. As I touched on before, all of our kit lives in an ICB, which ensures DPIAs and DTACs are correct. Our tooling has a DCB0129. For those of you that aren't aware of what that is, it's a clinical risk certification. So it's an official NHS certification. That means we have a clinical safety officer, a clinician who's received additional training that has deemed it as safe. The unique selling point of our tooling is it's bespokeable at practice level. So you have 6,500 practices in the UK currently, approximately. You have multiple labs across the country at the moment. So what does that mean? It means you that different clinicians often have different opinions as to how many checks to run on pathology tests in order to decide whether they are normal or not. Different labs will share with you the same pathology test with different ranges and different keywords. So a one-size-fits-all doesn't work in primary care. So approaching everyone in the UK and saying, we've got a tool, we're going to tell you what's normal and you're going to follow our rules is never going to work. You simply won't use it. So what our tooling does is it's self-configurable. You are able to set your own rules at practice level, and that is why our product is so successful. So if this can be bought at a practice, or if it's acquired at PCN level, which we're getting lots of acquisitions now, then each practice will get their own copy. And you can put your own rules. So if one practice decides that they want to, I don't know, filter on prostate tests and review all normals, check against the patient record, and even if it's normal, see if it's increased by a certain percentage, and if it's increased by more than 10%, look at it, as some do. And other practices will take the same test and say, no, I don't like reviewing it like that. I want 5 ages and 5 ranges and keywords, i.e. check the patient history to see for conditions. So it's completely self-configurable. So you can acquire at practice level or PCN level. And I can also share that we have clients who are using our tooling to look after up to 200 different pathology tests. We'll go on to the next thing. So we'll stop for questions in about 5 or 10 minutes. Let me just get through the next few slides and then we can open up for some questions and then we can carry on again. So the way to think about MyBotGP is it's a remote worker. So if you imagine employing someone and saying to them, I'm giving you permission to look after pathology tests filtering for me. These are the pathology tests you're allowed to look after for me, and I want you to follow these rules. And these rules will be how you define what checks they want to do and what to do with that pathology test based on what they find. And you've given that to a person. So it's easy to imagine a person doing it. So now imagine MyBotGP doing it. It's exactly the same. You set the screening rules over and above base to normal from a lab. You can it enables you to accommodate differences in clinical approach, lab report nuances. You tell MyBotGP what path tests, and it's super easy to configure. It's a couple of hours of work. You tell MyBotGP what pathology tests it's allowed to look after for you. We've got clients looking after up to 200. It will read all of your pathology tests that come into EMIS or SystmOne line by line. It will identify the tests it has permission to check on and skip the ones it doesn't. Once identified the ones it has permission to check on, it will apply the rules that you've given it to it, i.e. what are the agreeable ranges, does it need to look for keywords, omissions of keywords, and so on and so forth. If the test is normal, it will be filed, and if you want, it can send an SMS to a patient. Archiving protocols are defined by you. So what that means is we've seen that we have some clients who like to leave the tests in their inbox for a period of time because they might want to see those tests. It might remind them of a patient that they requested a test for, that even if it comes back as normal, they want to do another test or another protocol or action. And we have other practices that say no. You know, what we do as a practice is they are happy for MyBotGP to file it, archive it, and remove it from the inbox. But that configuration is super easy to do it at your end and quite quickly. So rules are easily changed. You can log in and change them every day. and there's a comprehensive audit log sent to you every day. So the way it's set up is we plug MyBotGP in. You will all be using different labs. Some of you might even be using more than one lab. It will read all of your path tests and it will save them all in the memory. So why is that important? I'll come back to this slide in a moment. It's important because we get all of the test names as exampled here and the ranges from the lab. So we're getting it directly from source. You don't have to tell MyBotGP what your lab defines as a normal range. It will see it for itself and it will save it all in the memory. Okay, so that and it waits for you to open up and tell you what rules to add to it. Now this is the combination of the rules that you have access to use, and they are literally accessed through drop-down menus and tick boxes, as we'll show you in a second. So filtering rules. Not all normals are normal. You can safely configure pathology check filters using any combination of these rules to validate if normal. So what I'm saying, or what we're saying is if you wanted to use all of these rules at the same time, you can. Or if you wanted to use just one or the other, you can. You're not limited. You can use them in conjunction with each other. So validate the lab is the first rule. Do you agree with the lab ranges? If a path test comes through and you agree with the lab and you decide that you don't need to add any other checks, MyBotGP can file that. You tick a box and it will file it for you. If you don't agree with the lab and you want to slightly amend the ranges, as some clients do, again, what you do is up to you. And we, I will share a spreadsheet in a moment that shows you that. But some of our clients say that for some tests, they're happy to put some tolerances on there because they believe that's safe. So you can set your own ranges. You just literally click change the range and press save, and it will work from that. You can compare against previous test results. So what that means is MyBotGP will read a path test and then it will say what rules am I supposed to apply, and if it sees that you want it to compare it against the previous test result, it will then go back into the patient record, read the previous test result and add a percentage increase or decrease against that test as driven by you to decide whether you need further investigation. And our keyword check, which is super popular, and you can tell MyBotGP to read the problem page and or pathology test result to look for keywords or omissions of keywords. So what that means is with the prostate example, and I'll show you again in a moment, you might say, here's the ranges for prostate. However, I always want you to read in the patient record to see whether they've got prostate cancer or history or metastatic cancer. And if they do, I want to see that test. Or you might not want to. But that logic can be used across all tests where you can tell it to look for keywords and skip it. So if something does come through as normal, but there's something in the patient history that means you want to see it or don't want to see it, you can do that. You're also able to omit patients. So you can say, I don't want you looking at that patient. And you can send text messages and archiving we've covered. So going back to the slides, you've got MyBotGP will log in, read your pathology tests, look for the ones it's got permission to action, add the rules. Is it agree with the lab, supersede the lab, keyword, omission of keyword, check against the previous test result, come to a decision based on what you've told it to do, and then take an appropriate action to move next. So it's quite simple to set up. This is the configuration panel. They're all different colors and stuff when you've got it live. You will log into your app, your MyBotGP. It will have read all of your pathology tests, save them all in the memory. As I said before, it won't action any when it's first turned on. It's just going to save all of the names and the ranges from the lab. And that's important because you will all be using different labs. And those labs invariably have different ranges or different spellings of tests. So it's super important to get your lab ranges. And MyBotGP does that for you. It sucks out all of these here in this example are the ranges that your lab have said is correct for this particular test. So When you are adding your rules to MyBotGP, the first time you see this, let's say for example it comes in purple, it's waiting to have a rule applied. All you do is double click on it, it goes from purple, it opens up, and you'll see something like this. And then quite simply, you would say, if I agree with the lab and I think this is normal and I don't need any additional checks, I'm happy to always file if it always comes through like this from the lab. If any one of these fail or are slightly out of range, I want it to fail. You just click file for a normal report. And then from that point onwards, every time MyBotGP sees your path test, your liver function test with these ranges, it's going to file it. Now, if you don't agree with the lab or you want to add additional checks for this particular path test, it's quite simple. You don't tick that box and you add your own rules. And they're quite easily done here. If you want to change any of the ranges, you just click the appropriate box and change the range. And then press save. If you want it to check against the previous test result, you just click here and you could say yes. So going back to the rules here, do I agree with these ranges? Yes or no? You click on here, change it, press save. If you want MyBotGP to look at a previous test result for a percentage increase or decrease, you literally click on any one of these because it could be for any of these individual tests, and that'll click yes, and then you put the percentage tolerance that you're happy with. If you want it to look for a keyword or omission of keyword, you just click the appropriate box here and write in what that keyword is. And then obviously you have your filing commentary string. So bringing it back to here, those rules, lab, supersede the lab, compare against previous test result, look for keywords, omissions of keywords. I don't know, for example, HbA1c, does it say diabetes or pre-diabetes in the problem page from the lab? Look for that. Some path tests don't have ranges, they only have words. We can pick those up as well. Age and gender. So here's where they are. Agree with the lab, tick that box. Want to put your own rules, don't tick that box, set your own ranges, look for keywords, omissions of keywords, check against the previous test result. You can add in age and gender. So before we move on to the next piece, I'm just going to share this with you very quickly. What you're looking at here, because this hopefully will start to bring this to life. This is an indicative example of what pathology tests are being filtered, are being used by MyBotGP by practices across the country. These aren't the rules that we're telling you to apply. Our tooling is more powerful than that. You set your own rules. What this is an example. So what you can see here is a path test name, subtest, gender, age, only check for normals, ranges, can compare against the previous test result, keyword check, omission of keyword check, and comment string. So going back to prostate, I can show that one as an example because it's quite an interesting one. As you can see here, we have some clients tended to use this logic. You can see that's the name of the of that particular pathology test. Here are and they've decided to set 5 ranges based on age. So there's 5 different ranges based on 5 different ages. It's here. However, they've put a super master safety check in the background, and you can see this bit here. On the top left-hand side, you can see the prostate, the words they've said to look for if it sees in the patient history, that they want MyBotGP to not process it if it sees those words. So what they've done is they've said, I want 5 ages and 5 ranges. I'm happy to file if it's within range based on age and range. If it's outside, fail it. I want to see it. However, even if it's okay, I want to see it. Now, other clients don't use that logic. As I said a bit earlier, they set a flat default in there and say, here's the range. Anything outside of range is a fail. Anything inside of range, I still want you to check against the previous test results, see if they've had a previous one. And if it's gone up by more than 10%, I want you to fail it because they think that's too quick. HbA1c is another interesting one here. As you can see here, This is how their lab is called HbA1c, ranges from the lab. However, it mustn't say diabetes or pre-diabetes anywhere on the record or lab report, as if it does, it will fail it. And you can see here, again, keywords are super popular in terms of picking out more and more pathology tests. Again, I know you can't see the actual test, I'm just showing the keywords here. And we have 181 different path tests. This should have been shared with you in advance of the call. If it wasn't, we will share it with you afterwards. And again, you know, we have some clients using this to look after up to 200 path tests. The way that we train our clients is we have weekly webinars. So there's an open weekly webinar. It's run every week with an open invite. All clients are welcome. For this particular, we have online training channel, and we have manuals. We also have a partner channel whereby we can have partners configure tooling for you. But in reality, for this particular tool, most clinicians wrap their head around the logic after a couple of hours, and they just get on with it super quickly. And it's 2 to 3 hours to configure it fully. Now, the way that people go live, generally speaking, we haven't had a client yet that's just turned this on and whacked 120 path tests in it straight off the bat. What you'll do is invariably they'll go live, 20, 30 path tests, 40 pathology tests, given permission, let it run for a week or so, build up confidence with it, retrain your colleagues at the practice to not file them manually, and just let MyBotGP get on with it. Get familiar with the audit logs. A week later, we generally see clients add another 20, 30 path tests, and then a couple of weeks later, we just see the numbers shoot up. Most clients seem to plateau around between 120 and 140 different pathology tests, and they're saving considerable amount of time from that. And then we have some very technology comfortable practices who've taken it all the way up to all the way up to a couple of hundred different path tests. So, and we'll share all of this with you afterwards. So, self-configurable, your rules, your way. Not all normals are normal. This is not a tool that's just going to file anything that's normal from the lab. You can see here, keywords, omissions of keywords, check against the previous test result. As a full audit log, you get sent an audit every day by email saying what it's done, and there's obviously a super comprehensive audit log within MyBotGP as well, so you can check. Lots of clients like this tool because it starts to enforce some standardization across the practice. It can also enforce additional checks being done to normals that may not always be done because of not enough time. And obviously there's a significant cost and time saving of clinical time. Going back to the analogy at the beginning, lots of doctors will say, well, I do these in the evenings, 15, 20 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, but they don't. But like all people, perceptions of time aren't very good. 15 minutes a day is 91 hours a year. It's a lot of time. 10-hour working days, 9 days, 9-hour working days, 10, 11 days. Time adds up and you can get that time back. So I'll take a pause here for a minute. I'm just going to stop sharing. And if there are any questions in the chat, we can go through those now. Okay, so we'll go through these. Sanjeev and I will do these together. And we'll go through these one by one. We'll get through hopefully all of them, and then we can stop, we can go back in, we can have another quick look, we can maybe see it in action, we can show you what the audit log looks like, we can come back for more questions as well. So Sanj, the first question is, are these keywords being excluded case sensitive? So Sanj wants to answer that one. Yep, okay.
Yes, I've answered it. Yes, they're correct. They are all case sensitive, whether you add keywords to be absent or present. They're all case sensitive. Automation doesn't guess, so to the letter of the law, it will look for the specific keywords you've applied.
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. Any PID being accessed or stored? Oh, Sandra wants to answer that one. Probably.
So just to confirm, no PID information is stored. Obviously, when it navigates to the pathology inbox, it will look at the actual test results and file it based on the rules. What we do store in terms of an audit log, so we take things like EMIS ID and pathology test categories, filing dates and things like that. So if one does need to reconcile, we've also got instructions how one can create a protocol within EMIS and that you can run that.
SystmOne as well.
Yeah. So on EMIS, you can run a protocol. And with respect to SystmOne, we take DOB information, again, anonymized. So you are able to search within SystmOne if you need to reconcile. But in answer to your question, no PID is accessed or stored.
Yeah. And we've got DPIAs and data sharing agreements and so on that are all correct. That will evidence that. Can the process add problem codes like non-diabetic hyperglycemia? Can a task be set as part of the automation? No. This is a normal pathology filing tool. We have to be very clear with what the purpose of this tool is for. So it's to look after the normals. What you're referring to, obviously, starting to move into the realms of abnormal pathology management. So the time saving for this tool is based on filtering the normals for you, so you can manage the abnormals. It goes without saying we are working on an abnormal pathology filing tool. And that will hopefully be ready for release later on this year, perhaps early next year. That takes things in a slightly different way. So all of and that will more than likely be a plug-in to our normal pathology filing tool. Sanj, so you're going to say something?
Just to add, sorry, the first question, yes, you can add the problem codes, non-diabetic and hyperglycemia. There was a filter whereby you can add in absence of keywords within the problem page. Same concept, you pop in the keywords, and then in absence of those keywords, i.e. these types of conditions, which is regularly used by lots of your colleagues when they file, we simply save those keywords and MyBotGP will action that.
Okay, thanks for confirming that. So in principle, you can use problem codes to pick out conditions like non-diabetic hyperglycemia. Thank you. I guess where I was going with that is that if there are further investigations to be kicked off once you've picked that up, then that gets passed back to a clinician to manage.
Yeah, 100%. I think as long as those keywords have been added into the problem page, then you can search on them.
Good stuff. Thank you. Has the bot been registered as a medical device? No, it doesn't need to be. It sits outside of that regulation. What we have is a DCB 0129, which is a clinical risk certification, and that's the appropriate certification for this tooling. Do you need a PC to be switched in on site all the time to run this automation? No, we don't use a PC at your practice. I know some people were trying to make that work quite some time back. No, it doesn't generally. That's old. All of ours is cloud, so you don't need a computer. Think of it as a remote worker living in an ICB hosting center. And they're logging in with a username and password into EMIS or SystmOne, all locked down and all secure. So no PC required at the practice. When you presented time save for filing for normal results, what's your formula for working out how long it takes a clinician to review and file? They are average results taken from NHS England based on an average practice of 8,500 lists, how many pathology tests they take, and an estimation as to how much time it takes. Sometimes clinicians will get through 5 normals in 4 minutes, and sometimes they'll get through 5 normals in 15 minutes if they're doing other work or distracted or taking a phone call. So they are NHS approximate times based on volume and processing times. Yes, we have a DCB 0129 and a DPIA. Does sending a screen message to all live users stop the bot from working as with other bots? I don't know, don't understand that question. Sanj, do you understand that question? Does sending a screen message to all live
Yeah,
users?
apologies, I don't know what that means.
Okay, we'll circle back to that one, Ishan. If you can put, do you want to mute? If you can pop that in the chat again, and we'll come back to that in a moment. I think you answered this question for national bowel screening. Can the bot send a preset message to those who do not respond? Say, get a test done. How to? So, for national bowel screening, can the bot send a preset message to those who do not respond to say, get a test, and how to request another kit to do all of these tests to go to a human to do? Do not, I think if we can come back to that as well, who do not respond to what, I think would be the answer, would be the question. If there was a test to be picked up and that test deemed that they needed that particular message, then the answer is yes. What's the difference between hosted and non-hosted? Hosted essentially means you don't need a computer at the practice. So it's something that's working in the background. No computer is needed. It's working in the cloud. It's the same as the cloud. So it's someone sitting at home using logged into SystmOne or EMIS. Thank you. Sanj, you keep jumping in. Is there something you wanted to say, or did you want to take this one?
No, I was just saying on the host. Yeah, so as you said, it will run in the hosting center, and everyone will have a localized app that they access to look at the kind of daily reports as to what's filed. So that's the only thing that's needed.
Do you want to take the next question? So thank you. So to confirm, if I'm looking at HbA1c and wish to exclude patients with non-diabetic hyperglycemia, it won't exclude patients with non-diabetic hyperglycemia, but spelt with lowercase as against uppercase. I believe that's correct.
That's correct. So,
Yep.
so you would type out the conditions. So in absence of those words, that's the condition where MyBotGP has satisfied and is good to file as normal. So what we advocate is you might need to spell it out both ways, i.e. uppercase and lowercase, and then you simply save that within the actual box.
Yeah, you can put any combination of words in there to be safe if you're getting them in both, if you're getting both uppercase and lowercase. Can you be emailed the pricing? Yes. Okay, I think this is the question again. If I send an urgent screen message in EMIS to all users, including the bot, it stops it from working. If the bot is running when we are closed, then this isn't an issue. I've never been asked that before. I'm still not 100% I understand. Can we set the times and frequency of the bot? The bot will run 3 times a day, generally runs in the morning, in the afternoon, and the evening. It will log in and complete all work. Would you be able to I think I understand that question now. Are you worried about sending messages at night time, perhaps to patients? So that may be where that's coming from. The tooling will run 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. Can we set the times and the frequency? It's on a continuum. Sanj, yeah?
Yeah, I think I understand. So you're talking about a pop-up. So if an urgent screen message in EMIS comes up, does that stop the bot from working? Well, part of the tool, so the old sort of technology, yes, that would, but MyBotGP's got an intelligent pop-up handler. And what that means is it's able to work with pop-ups and action those pop-ups. There's actually a pop-up action within MyBotGP where you tell the nominated action. So once you've told it how to handle pop-ups, it will be able to, there you go, got it. Click the button. Yeah, so again, this is the next wave of technology. It can converse with any pop-up on EMIS or SystmOne, and that means that you have complete continuation of the pathology filing. And yes, it does work weekends and 3 times a day.
Thank you, Sanj. I'm pleased we got there in the end. Yeah, once you've told it what to do with the pop-up, once it knows what to do, it won't ask you. And every time it sees a pop-up for the first time, if it's never seen it before and it's never been given instruction, it will just say, tell me what to do with this. You tell it, saves it in the memory, and you move on. Obviously, we've pre-populated a number of standard, regular, reoccurring pop-ups that you get already. But as you know, well, which is why you're asking the question, with EMIS and SystmOne, your random pop-ups can appear from nowhere, so it's good to be able to get rid of those as well. Works on the weekend, yes. For the exclusion of keywords, where exactly is the bot looking for them? The problem page on the patient notes in EMIS? Yes, Sanj?
Yep.
Yeah, and it can also read path report. Is there a free trial? No, there is not a free trial. The minimum entry is 12 months. There is a pricing for practices, and then there is also a PCN pricing. And there's about a 10% difference in price if you acquire this as a PCN. We can send you the details of how that works, but essentially the cloud hosting cost is different. But yes, there's a PCN pricing. The way that we work on very simply from a practice, but pricing is you pay 749 plus 30 pence times your list size. Then depending on how big your list is will determine the cloud hosting cost, which will be anywhere from £40 a month to £80 a month, something like that. So, and it's an annual subscription, and there's no limit on volumes. It's unlimited path tests types and unlimited volumes, and you can make as many changes as you like. Okay, we have another question here for the exclusion of words. Is this the same on SystmOne from the problem list only or journal
That's
2?
Correct. That's correct.
That's from the problem list.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sanj. Good. Some really good questions there. Thank you. Do we have any more questions to go through? We like questions. As I said at the beginning, you know how you want to work. So letting you ask the questions so we can answer them now, I think you learn a lot more than just be shown a little video of something working on a screen. So, okay, great. Another question here. Would these normal results be saved into a report? We have normal results, for example, cervical screening, which is saved as normal, and we have to add a date, add a diary date and Arden's template. Sanj, over to you for that one.
That's correct. So there is a comprehensive audit report which gives you filing by date and tells you which pathology categories have filed for that date, and then again sort of a detail around when that filing took place. So yes, there's comprehensive reporting. So yeah.
Good. Thank you. Okay. We'll get back to the presentation for the last couple of minutes, and then if you have more questions, please pop them into the chat, and we'll circle back for the remaining questions. So I'm just going to share my screen again quickly. One more question before we do that. How long is the patient data held, if not for the duration of the contract? No patient data is held. So nothing is held. If lab changes their values, would MyBotGP recognize it, or you need to change manually? You would need to change manually. TPP have developed their own pathology filing engine. How is MyBot better? Okay, so I have to be very careful. In our opinion, in our view, our tooling is 2 to 3 hours to set up, and it's fully automated. The other solution is not automated, and we estimate somewhere in the region of 180 to 200 hours of clinical time to write the protocols for 150 different pathology tests, to then be triggered manually. You would then need to set up your own DCBO 160 at practice level to confirm how you're monitoring all of the protocols that you've defined and you've pre-configured that tool to look after them for you. Masses of clinical time. It works. But it's a different beast. You configure it, you set it up, you run it, you own it, you DCBO 160 it. Well over 200 hours of clinical time each year and you have to manually kick it off. Our tool, you plug it in. We have a DCBO 160 we can share with you, which is on how the tool works. DCBO 129 we can share with you. 2 to 3 hours to configure it, and we gun the normals. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to share my screen now again, and please pop more questions in the chat. Yeah, good questions. I enjoyed that. Okay, so audit log goes without saying. Comprehensive audit log. So you're going to be sent a spreadsheet every day if you want to. There's a distribution group. You can set with your own email addresses. It will tell you exactly what's been done and where. In addition, you can open up the application, and it goes without saying that a tool like this it's all anonymized, but you can go back and check absolutely anything that it's touched in terms by date, by category, and then a granular anonymized breakdown. Pricing we can touch on super quickly here. So 749, this is practice one product. Obviously we have multiple products and the pricing is slightly different if you take 2 or 3 products. So for one product, MyBotGP is 749 plus list times 30 pence. And then there is a hosting cost, which is our cloud cost, which depending on what your list size is, defines that cost. So here you've got, if you've got up to 10,000 patients, it's 7 pence per patient. From 10 to 15,000 patients, it's 6, and 15,000, it's 5 pence. But on average, based on an 8,500 list, it's easier just to look at that. So an 8,500 list would have all of that fully automated for just under £4,000 a year. If you took a second product, obviously there's a discount, the 749. So let's say, for example, you took repeat prescriptions as well, or Docman if you're an EMIS user. That second product is dropped to 499, and then your hosting cost is charged at a flat 5 pence for list for that product. And then PCNs and federations, Farrell is much better at explaining that than I am, but essentially there's about a difference in about 10% in price cost saving. And that actually has become what we've seen in the last year. That's really changed. We always had practices acquiring and rarely had PCNs. And in the last year or so, yeah, I mean, that's really changed. PCNs seem to be making the bulk, lots of acquisitions for their practices as well. And here's a bit more of an explanation on some of the logic around some of the rules. And again, this is just indicative examples. So I can see Sam's typing away, so maybe that means there's been a couple more questions. We can come back. Just before we do that, I just want to quickly summarize. Hopefully this will start to make more sense now. We're not saying you stand around making coffee all day. What we're saying, and maybe some of you will think of this tomorrow morning when you're making coffee before going to work, 15 minutes a day standing in the kitchen, 10 to 15 minutes a day equates to about 91 hours a year. People are not very good at working out how much time it takes to do things. So imagine how much time you sit in traffic over the course of your lifetime. Our tooling, based on an average calculation, will save every clinician in the country 19 days a year. So 4 clinicians, average practice 8,500 can save up to 78 days a year. All of our kit lives in an ICB, so we're clean from DPIA, data sharing agreements. It's a remote worker. It will log in and it will manage your path test for you. You tell it what path test you want it to look at. It will skip the ones it hasn't got permission, and then you apply the rules here. Ranges. Do you agree with the lab, disagree with the lab? Do you want to look against the previous test result? Do you want to check in the problem page, keywords, omissions of keywords? Age, gender, omit patients and send SMSs. And this is the configuration panel. Interestingly, one of the questions has actually made me think of something that I want to, that we may add to our deck. We can add the stuff around SystmOne. That page that you said that it looks at, we can put that on our brochure. Maybe that was missing. So do we have any more questions, or would you like to have a quick look at the tool working, the configuration piece of it working, or is there anything anyone wants to ask in here? Okay. Okay. Yes. Okay, Bernie. Yeah, we'll do that. Fine. Let's go here. Okay, let me just open up this here. Oh, second. Show you the first bit is the same for EMIS and SystmOne. And what you're going to see here, essentially, this is what it looks like, exactly as the depth. So let's say it's read all your path tests, it's pulled them directly from the path from your labs. It's in purple. You've double clicked it to open it up because you've decided that for this particular path test, you're happy for MyBotGP to look after it for you. So you double click and you open it up. That's what you'll see. And it really is as simple as, and what you'll see here, move over here, typing in to change a range. You can see, going back to the question before around, I think that was related to SystmOne, around differences on, it's around speed to configure. And obviously time is money. So if you have your most costly resource allocated a couple of hundred hours a year to doing something, it's going to cost more than buying a platform. Update test, press save, and that's it. That's now done. So let's say, for example, HbA1c, that's what you're going to say there. This is how you add the keywords in. Coming back to the questions before, they can be capitals or lowercase. You could add both. Press update and save and move on to the next one. This one we're saying keyword absent. It's super quick to configure. It goes without saying that you do need to have a think around what rules you want to apply. What we generally do is when clients start with us, we get paperwork sorted out, and then we recommend you start to have a think around what path test rules you want to apply. And then by the time you're ready for your install, you've done that pre-work in advance, and then it's just a question of opening it up, adding the rules, and clicking save. And you don't have to do all in one go. And you're welcome to attend any of our weekly webinars, and we have a YouTube training channel as well that you can go on. So you make best use of your time and you get this up and running with minimal effort. There's that. And then you can see this is an EMIS example. Obviously, you can show SystmOne. It's the same principle. I'll just forward it to here and here. If you ignore this, then this you wouldn't see because it's living in the cloud. Actually, I'll go back a bit here. So the scenario is, it's woken up, MyBotGP. It's whatever time it's been set to run. It's on its morning run. It's going to log in by itself. It's going to add in its own username and password, which is a dedicated username and password. So you've got a full track audit log for the tooling, so you can see exactly what it's done. It's also only got permission to access path tests. It can't just go rogue and start doing other things. One of our clients let us film this, hence why a lot of the information here has been redacted. So this is actually working in live. And now it's navigating its way around to find the appropriate tests. It's going to apply the logic when it sees the ones it's got permission. It's like a ghost working, or you're watching a screen and someone else is using it for you. And again, we've got the same, you see it working away here. And it's the same principle, SystmOne. Lots of flashing and stuff with SystmOne. You wouldn't see any of this. It will just keep running in the background. Go to here. Logging in by itself. Navigate to the appropriate place. Again, this has been redacted, hence the blurriness. Get rid of the pop-ups as was brought up before. And it will just run in the background. So this tool is currently being used across the country. It's running thousands of times a day. Our training can be quite interesting in terms of the webinars. So we often have a number of different practices on the webinars, and we get people comparing logic and comparing approach and different ways and sharing ideas, which can be really helpful. In terms of getting as many path tests as you feel comfortable entered into MyBotGP to look after for you. Okay, so I'm going to see if there's any more questions. Okay, so I think we've covered a lot here today. Some of the questions were really good. Before we wrap up, is there anything else anybody wants to ask? Okay, so we will get this onto our website as quickly as possible, and we will share a link. Farrell, if you can go on camera for a second, he is best placed to show pricing and take things like Farrell, take things further with you. If you have any more questions, please let us know. We'll try and get this on within the next couple of days, and then we'll email you all a copy of it along with the presentation and the path test lists. And yeah, and that's it. And thank you very much. Thanks to Sanj. Thanks to Farrell. Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.